Hello and welcome to the regular Tuesday edition of Spurs Diehards TTID Tottenham Till I Die in what is a beautiful, wet and miserably cold London scene. I'm going to introduce the guest right away and we get straight into it. Going to Phil and Frankfurt. Phil, how's the weather out there?
It was a very weird day, actually, weather-wise, because it was quite normal grey, about 5 degrees when I woke up this morning and walked into the office. And then at about lunchtime at 12 o'clock, a blizzard started from nowhere and has been blizzarding for about 4 hours. There's about 3 inches of snow everywhere. And it took me and my wife about 2.5 hours to drive back from the centre of Frankfurt, about 10 miles, when it would normally take 20 minutes, just because, like, no one was prepared for it. You'd think the Germans would be prepared, wouldn't you? But they weren't. So, yeah, it was a disaster. So
very un-German-like.
I know, but it's getting warmer, I think. The sun's coming out tomorrow, so that's welcome.
Okay, Phil's a regular friend of the show now, as is Brad, who you can find here. How are you, Brad?
Well, same as you, really, Adrian. Been raining all day today. Luckily, I've been inside working, but obviously when I came home, I had to sort of tromp through the rain. So my parka is up, hanging up to dry at this very moment. And speaking of Frankfurt and snow, that will probably be the beast from the east that we've been threatened with in England in the next few days. But the local weather hasn't said that. But
as an ex-bricklayer foreman, like who spent 40 years managing jobs. When you get a wet winter, they're worse for us because they're usually not as cold as other winters, but you get a lot of rain. So, like, not so good. So we'll introduce our other guest, Gary, who you can find here at Project Spurs, another good friend of the show, and at WhatsApp group. How are you, Gary?
Yeah, good. The bad weather's making me as depressed as yesterday's transfer window. So hopefully
we're going to get into that, right? Yeah.
I want to get spring back. I enjoy spring. I'm not a big. I don't like it when it's boiling hot. Being that I'm going bald, so it sort of starts burning the big forehead, and I don't deal with that. So spring's the one I'm looking forward to. You can get out, lots of walks, listen to podcasts like these. 6 or 7 mile walks, but other than that, pretty good. Thank you.
Okay, I'll put the links up to these 3 guests. They're also in the comments section. So for those of you watching now and those of you watching on playback, get over to those guys' podcast shows, right? And subscribe to their channels and give their shows a thumbs up, and do it to us as well, please. Right. So we're going to start. Let's start. Right, let's get the banner up. Transfer window debate. Right, so basically, I mean, the only signings we got, Gary, was Sousa and Gallagher. I mean, Gallagher you could count as what I'd class as just a below elite level player. We didn't do enough, did we? Didn't do enough after the promises. No wonder Romero blasted, but we'll come on to him in a bit.
No, we didn't do enough. We didn't do enough in the summer. We didn't do enough last summer. We didn't do enough last January. kind of haven't done enough for a number of years, really. I did think that yesterday, well, I thought this January transfer window was going to be the first sort of post-Levy January transfer window. It was an opportunity for the ownership and Vinay and Jan Lang and everybody really to make a real statement of intent and to show that their words are backed up by actions. Really, the only busyness yesterday was for our academy, with a number of players going in and a number of players going out. Other than that, I mean, there was nothing. And Conor Gallagher is a reaction signing, be it that we lost Bentancur and instantly we went to go and get Gallagher. Souza is really one for the future as well, but he's going to make an impact this season. He's a good player, but he is an unknown, and unlike what Conor Gallagher is, we kind of knew. And we are seeing what we were expecting from him. So we've signed one player with experience that's, with all due respect, is a reactionary signing, and one player that is an unknown to 99.9% of our fan base. That is one really in hope or prospect. And then, as I say, two?
James Wilson, yeah.
Well, James Wilson, Joel Vidai, Filbert as well. He came in from Chelsea. George Abbott went out on loan to Mansfield. Alfie Dorrington went out to Salford City on loan. Aaron Maguire went out to a non-league side on loan. I think Hamilton Richmond. Herbie James left on a permanent deal to Cardiff City. So there was two main signings for the academy. Vidal Filbert, he is a winger, came from Chelsea, but he was previously at West Ham as well. He's highly rated. And then James Wilson is being really sort of spoken highly of in sort of Scotland and things like that. He's come from Hearts. That's on loan, but that's with an option to buy. And they're going into the academy. Obviously, we've got Mason Melia that's come in that probably
back strain,
once that back strain's fixed. So yeah, disappointing transfer window. Just again, opportunities not taken from the ownership.
Has Maguire gone out because last season Gunter went out to Wealdstone, didn't he? So now Gunter's back, and those two are not going to get, unless they share the goalkeeping duties.
Yeah,
seems to me
they're not likely to. Gunter played on when did I go? Friday, was it? He played on Friday.
I like him. I like the look of him. I like the look.
Yeah, he done a couple good saves. I don't really think the goals were his fault. I haven't seen them back, but they looked offside really. But they were more on breakaways, one-on-ones, and Everton took them well. They had Jermaine Pickford's younger brother in goal as well, actually, for Everton. But yeah, Aaron Maguire's gone out.
In that all-conquering season when they won the league and the playoffs.
Yeah. He's a good goalkeeper. He's a good goal. He's back now, so let's see how he progresses for the rest of the season. I spoke to Wayne Barnett on after the game, and he had alluded to there was a number of injuries within the academy. So Tiernan Thompson and Luca Williams-Barnett were injured. Both of those are back training. So hopefully it's a good end to the year for the academy and these sort of new players coming in as well. But yeah, it was pretty quiet first team wise, wasn't it?
What's happening with the rumours about Elisasi? He's staying with the club. They're not letting him out on loan, or is he going out on loan?
Well, there was they turned down 2 deals for him, didn't they? 2 offers, 6 million from PSV, Torino, and I feel like there was another Italian club interested. They didn't want to sell him permanently. They were open to a loan. But yeah, he's going to be with the club. I'm assuming the Italian transfer window are closed at the same time as us.
I think we're aligned with Europe. The only ones we're not aligned with are Turkey and Saudi Arabia, and maybe the Scandinavians, because their season, because of the winter, is disjointed compared to ours as well. So. But they're not.
Yeah, so they close at the same time as they close a couple of hours. They close at the same time as we did yesterday. So, and the only interest has been from Italian sides, and so he'll play. He was on the bench on Sunday, which is good. We probably might end up needing him. We're going to need him, especially to be on the bench and in Champions League squads as well. So. Callum looks like he's probably got a future for the rest of this season.
Has George Abbott recovered from his thigh injury? Has he recovered or?
Well, he's gone out to Mansfield for the rest of the season.
Oh, he must be all right. Well, Craig,
I'm assuming he's going to be okay.
Craig, what's his name was at Mansfield, wasn't he? Forget his last name. Craig. Oh, come to me. Right. Anyway, okay. Let's sort of cover like the minor stuff, but the big topic is obviously like the fact we haven't signed anyone, Brad. I mean, like,
well, it all started off.
I mean, we all expected at least one more, possibly two, didn't we?
I mean, this is the new. Well, not the new owners, the new board. You know what I mean? Since Levy went, and they'd said all the right things, and then Vinny, whatever his name is, had the program notes, and he made all the right things. Oh yeah, we need to be ambitious. We need to. He mentioned wages, didn't he? So you thought, oh yeah, they're going to push the boat out. And I don't mind them offering loads of money for Semenyo, and he turns us down if he wants to go Man City, fine. But I just wonder what's happening with our scouting people, because I'm not expecting the way Tottenham are, where we are at the moment, the way the club is. I'm not really expecting players like Semenyo or Gaia to say, "Oh yeah, I want to go to Tottenham." You know, it's quite they go to Man City. That's quite expected. But surely there must be some players in the Championship, or that are half decent that we could have bought that would have done a job. I mean, if you look at the when we signed up Eriksson, Son, Vertonghen, Dele Alli, they were hardly household names when we signed them, but they were decent players. So I just wonder what's happened to our scouting network. I mean, maybe I'm just not seeing something, but it just seems really, really disappointing. And we sold Brendan Johnson, so I don't know. It's just, I guess the last chance will be the summer. That'll be the window when they sort of don't have any excuses really. We're not a poor club, and also, I mean, the other thing was if they'd have said before the window we don't expect to have any signings, that might have made it a little bit more easier to take. But when they made us all think, oh yeah, we're going to sign all these players, and we're going to pay the wages and that sort of thing, and yet nothing. We weren't even really linked with any players. It was a really bizarre, vanilla transfer window.
Phil, I know you was as unhappy as most Spurs fans were, and people have a little bit of time to calm down. But we need transparency from the club. They've got to come out and say something about this, haven't they?
Yeah, they do. The problem is that everyone knows that when they come out, probably this week at some point or next week, is going to be some, soft corporate, kind of pre-prepared, wishy-washy nothingness of a nothingness thing that means absolutely nothing. We know that that's the playbook of ENIC anyway over the years, and it's continuing. And there's so many elements around this which are just really confusing to me, to be honest. Like, where I just don't quite understand, obviously, what we're doing, but like, what have we actually done? What was the plan? What is the plan? Even things like, Paratici, he's been working as a consultant with the club for so long. Levy left the club. He was Levy's man. We still hired him back permanently, later on. So after Levy had gone, and then did this weird double sporting director thing, which I didn't agree with anyway. I couldn't understand it. And look, for me, Paratici is not a classical high-level proper sporting director, managing director, as I've been calling for since last year or even before that, where you'd have someone who kind of just heads up everything around the footballing side of the club as a sporting director, but someone who knows their football as well, but who's gone into business. So kind of somewhere between Vinay and Paratici, who I think is more of a black book scout kind of guy. But anyway, the point that I was trying to say is that, he came back into the club. It was a bit weird how they announced that. Then obviously there was lots of rumors about him leaving. It wasn't addressed quickly. And then finally, at some point, it became clear that he was leaving to go back to Italy because personal situation. out of nowhere kind of thing, right? I think he's got a new girlfriend over there, which is part of the reason for going back, from what I understand from a lot of infos that I've seen. And then there was no real, like, why didn't he go on gardening leave? You know, like, why didn't they just kind of bin him off? If they were going to give the responsibility to Lange 100%, then give it to him, right? Together with Vinay, or get consultants in or something. But the whole setup screamed to me before the window opened as being completely weird. But obviously still went into it with hope. And the problem is that Vinay then came out, you know, with his program notes, with that speech, which was the same week as Conor Gallagher was signed. And it was also the same week when Change for Tottenham announced that they were going to, you know, be kind of doing, you know, the first proper protest, right? Organized thing in a long time. And it was a bit weird how that all kind of came into that week as well. Although I do accept that probably Vinay had to give a bit of notice, right, to put that into the program notes, right? So it was probably planned around that time, but maybe they fast tracked it. I don't know. But you know, in that speech, you know, when you listen to what they said, you know, increasing the wage bill by a big amount, you know, to compete with the top 4 or 5, we know that our wages to revenue or revenue to wages ratio is pretty much the lowest out of all kind of top 4, top 5. Well, pretty much the lowest of any clubs in the whole of Europe, if not the world, right? Literally, it's what was it? It was 40%. It's probably gone down to 30 something now since Son kind of left the club. I know we've got Gallagher in now and Javi and stuff like that, but it's ridiculously low. Aston Villa's is 92%, which is obviously very high, right? That's a very, very high wages to turnover, but they've kind of done it with a calculated risk. You know, they've obviously calculated that, you know, they're qualifying for Europe, they're getting the income, and that probably even if they had some issues, they would have a contingency plan, right? But they've dared to do, and we haven't for years. And we all hope that, and I hope that we would this window. I was led to believe we would. The fact that we sold Brennan Johnson on the first day of the window was like, wow, this is the new ENIC. This is like, we're quick. We're getting business done early. And we're also like shipping on players that, you know, probably are in some way surplus to requirements for the next phase of what we want to do. And I love Brennan, right? Obviously for his goal in the final, and, you know, lovely guy and scored a lot of goals for us, right? But I was quite happy to move him on, right, and get that amount of money for him, because we've held on to players, you know, for too long. So, you know, you start the window off like that, and then you think, wow, you know, like this is the new ENIC. And then Sousa was rumored, I think, in that same week. And since then, apart from the Gallagher signing, which seems to have been, if I'm being honest, an opportunistic signing, possibly, because I know we've been interested in him for a while, but, you know, it kind of seems like he wanted to come back and get in the World Cup squad, and Atletico kind of signaled he might become available, you know, so that screams to me a bit more opportunistic rather than proper planning. But since then, there's been nothing, as you know, as Brad and Gary already said as well, that there wasn't even any links to any players, right? Or that we were like in talks with anyone, and then it broke down, you know, like with Morgan Gibbs-White or something. We weren't even close, supposedly, to signing anyone. And then in the last week, since Dortmund, you know, we beat Dortmund, and then we beat Frankfurt. We still had a week since Frankfurt, knowing that we were in the top in the top 8, and we did nothing. It's honestly,
and the worrying part of that as well is we'd lost 4 players from that Frankfurt game to the Man City game. We'd lost 4 further players through injury, so the club was fully aware of the predicament that we're in terms of squad, the depth, the planning.
Exactly.
We could see really from the summer where we needed recruitment, which was the entire left-hand side. That's not as a starter for the left back. That's someone that can compete with Udogi, because when he plays, he's outstanding. We lost Song, didn't replace him. Was Tell that replacement? I'm not too sure. Tell is more of a striker than he is a winger. Again, it was a reactionary thing last minute bringing Colin Mawani in, who hasn't done much really, unless it's in the Champions League where he is putting in a couple of the performances. But most of it's been reactionary. It leads really for a couple of points for me is, do the ownership see Thomas Frank as a long-term manager at the club? And if not, is there someone available now that can bring it in? No. So why are we going to spend X amount of money on targets for him that we might not need? That's me trying to make an excuse. But
You've got to
equally,
bring in
we
some
need
loans.
Conor Gallagher's been scouted through the club for the last 3 or 4 years, 3 years at least. Ange Postecoglou wanted him desperately at the club, and Daniel Levy didn't want him. So that showed us a different intent for me from ENIC 2.0, as I'd like to call them, that, okay, we're going to go with people we've scouted and that experience, but we just haven't backed it up. We can't go into any fixture with 12 first-team players fit.
Staying with you, Gary, I mean, it is perplexing what we actually do, what our recruitment team actually do from the beginning of the season onwards, before we even approach a transfer window, whether it's the January one or something. I mean, when you might know some of these, but we know that Vinay is the CEO. We know that Lang is the DOF, even if he's got a different title now. But then you've got these guys. You might know some. You've got a recruitment team. You've got Rob McKenzie. It's a 10-man team. Max Leggett, I know Phil knows of him in Germany. He's a scout out there. Joe Farrow is a scout in Portugal. Alex Fraser in the UK. Giuseppe in Italy. Seb is in the UK. And the bottom 5, they're analysts. They're analysts at the club. There's an 11-man team now, and like, what are they doing to earn their money, Gary? How many of them do you know? You might know a few of them. I don't know.
Well, it's not down to them. They're the ones that find players. They're making recommendations. A lot of the analysts and some of the scouts are game scouts, so they're watching opposition and feeding back information as well as looking at players. So there's a whole different element in that. But it goes up the chain, doesn't it? It goes to Joan Lang, and then if he's interested, it will go up the chain further on to, which traditionally would have been Daniel Levy. And Daniel Levy says yes or no, and now it's gone to Vinay, and then Vinay, whichever side you want to believe, Vinay signs it off. But there is another argument, another side that people are saying at the moment, is that Nick Boucher is the one that's signing things off, and he's the one saying yes or no to things. That's another sort of, so there's two arguments that I've heard, whether that's true or not. And Nick is making a number of decisions because ultimately he's the one that is saying yes or no on behalf of the Lewis family. In terms of what those guys do on a daily basis, they're making recommendations. They're analysing the games coming up, the games that have happened. There'll be players that they are interested in and looking at. They've gone and watched Magnus Akaliush a number of times. They are interested in him. They wanted him for whatever reason. They couldn't get a deal done. I think if Monaco had gone out of the Champions League, that deal would have got done. It might be one in the summer. The only thing I keep coming back to, and it's just me trying to make an excuse, so don't take this as anything. No. I just think that they're not convinced by him long term. So they're not going to spend that money knowing that they've got 13 players out injured that we're still having to pay. A number of them will be coming back in the next few weeks and months. We're not going to get relegated. Probably not going to get Europe, even though we are quite close to Europe, if you think about it. And if we do bring in a player of Conor Gallagher's stature, well, he's played for a manager and he was a captain for a manager of somebody that we might be interested in the summer. So actually we might be okay there. So I think that's kind of might be where they're looking at it. We're not going to spend money now on a manager we're not going to back. Argument of that is that's quite negligent. That's leaving the squad bare thin. That's fouled us as a fan base. That's fouled the players. The players are being fouled because people like Pedro Porro, who is absolutely knackered, his overload is too high, so he gets injured. So he gets a hamstring injury. You get a calf strain because your overload is too much. This isn't we all grew up in different eras. We're playing 2 games every 3 days. They're not resting. And then when you get to the summer, they then go out to summer tournaments like the World Cup or the Club World Cup or the Euros, or they go out to South Korea or Japan or America. They need rest, and so they've been failed. Mostly the fan base has been failed again, and it's just really disappointing.
Brad, I mean, Gary made some good points there, and what struck me is like when he mentioned Europe. I mean, you'd think the board would think, hang on, we could get Europe where we are now, but we might drop off. We might not get Europe just because we haven't invested in the January transfer window. Don't they want Europe or what? What's some,
I think they want Europe. I mean, that was the remit. That's why Thomas Frank got the job, or why Postecoglou was sacked, wasn't it? Because he basically told the board, "I'm throwing it all at the Europa League," which, to be fair, is probably the first time we've dared to do in God knows how many years. And we won that trophy, and we were never in danger of getting relegated. Although I'm not saying I'm pleased with 17th place or whatever it was. And they got Frank in on because they wanted to build a team that competed on all fronts. Well, we're out the League Cup in the second round. We're out the FA Cup in the first round. All right, we're doing very well in Europe in the Champions League, but we're not doing what the board wanted us to do. I mean, Frank obviously says he wants to win. Every game we play, he takes every game separately, and the way the league is at the moment is pretty concertina. So Europe's not out of the question. But I think the first thing we need to do is start winning our league games so we can put that relegation issue to bed. I mean, I don't think we'll get relegated, but we would have been 16 points clear of West Ham if we'd have beaten them. And we got to a situation where they won 2 games, 2 or 3 games, or they won 2 games and were 2-0 up against Chelsea, and we're 2-0 down against Man City at half time. So that that 9-point gap plus goal difference got at the moment could have been so much different if those games had gone how the first half has gone. So yeah, I think it'd be let's see how let's win and see where we end up. I mean, Europe goes to what, 7th place, 8th place.
Conference, 5 Champions League spots, 2 UEFA, and then the Conference League spot. Is it 1 or 2?
Personally, I'd like to, because we got. I mean, I think we got some fairly decent young players that I think will need. Will get better. I would actually like to see them put a lot more faith in them. Maybe not get into Europe next season. And just really go for it in the FA Cup, the League Cup, and the league. See what we can do there, and not have these 2 games every week. Because at the moment we haven't got the squad. We got God knows what's going on with the medical team. It's not only this season we've had injuries. Last season we got injuries. What are they doing? What's going on there?
We're going to discuss that after we've done the transfer window. Go on.
So I'm. Yeah, I know it sounds really bad, but I wouldn't mind the season without Europe, just so we can get ourselves back on track. And who knows, maybe, probably not everyone agrees with this, bring back Pochettino. He's the one that understood the club, He's the one that knew our DNA, how we played. I think he would be perfect for the young players we've got there. And he also would improve the team every year. Because if you think of our team over his years, we had a couple of players in there, and they all were moved on, and they got improved upon every season.
When Pochettino first came in, we had a number of older players that needed to be moved on, and a number of players that perhaps were not performing. He moved them on pretty sharpish, made some good investments. Obviously, it's not all down to him in terms of the player recruitment. He had people above him, but he developed those players really well. For me, I absolutely 100% agree with you. He is the right person. And there was a couple of reasons why I think that. One is he can almost universally unite a fan base that is incredibly split. He'll unite, I would say, 80% of that. There's obviously going to be some that aren't interested in having him back, and that's absolutely fine. But the biggest aspect, there's 2 more caveats to that. One being that he's got enough credit in the bank with us that we know should he come out and say, this is going to take some time, guys and girls. This is going to take a couple of years. We know and we trust in his playing style and what he says, and he's got enough credit there that we go, okay, we're with you. Whereas somebody that comes in like Thomas Frank on his first press conference saying, we will 100% lose games. That doesn't fill me with a huge amount of confidence. And I'm coming in to shore up this defence, and then we're like leaking goals like it's the faucet is broken. That doesn't. You don't have any credit in the bank with me. Whereas if Poch came in and that happened, I'd go, okay, but I trust he can get this to work. And the most important thing over everything else, there is not a manager active in the world that loves this football club as much as he does, and no matter where he goes, and every time he does an interview, he did an interview about 3 or 4 weeks ago, getting ready for a World Cup in the home nation. What was he talking about? Tottenham Hotspur, and how much he loves that club and he wants to come back. Now, to me, that means more than anything, because if you love something so much, like this channel, you love doing this channel, or you whatever it is, graphic design or playing a computer, you love it. You're going to give absolutely everything, and you're probably going to give even more if there's a relationship already there. To me, it's a no-brainer. It's an absolute.
Yeah, there are two things. People say, "Oh, we didn't win anything," but there are 2 things, or 3 things actually. One, I've never, as you said about the fan base, I've never felt so much, with the club as I did during those years. 2 was the fact that, another universe, we could have won stuff under Pochettino. We got to so many semi-finals, so many finals. We could have won something. And I've never supported Tottenham and seen them go, whilst I've been living here, maybe in Australia when I was living in Australia, I've never lived here and seen Tottenham title challenged 2 times. Never seen that, ever. And the other thing was that I got to the stage with Tottenham at that stage where Champions League was assumed. It was like, well, we were soon going to get Champions League, and you wanted to go that step higher to win that Premiership. So they say that you shouldn't go back to things, and I get that, but I've got to a situation now where I just want to try. Let's give it a go. Let's not dive.
I think as well for him and for the fan base that if we did go back there, and it didn't work out, we can all let it go.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
A lot of the managers that kind of come in, but instantly, if it's not going the right way, however long that might be 6 months or 18 months, people like me and you and others are going to go, Poch can fix it, because of that connection and feeling. And sometimes going back isn't the right thing, but if you go back and it fails, actually might be a way for us to move on as well. I don't think it would fail, because that academy, the players we've got there and the young players we've got available, they would be perfect for him. They really, really would. And if you haven't read his book, on the last season at the Lane, it's so fascinating on how he deals with players and how he wanted to develop, and just the love he has for his football club. Again, it's just I could sit on the podcast and talk about it.
And the anti-Poch brigade, they go like, oh well, he never won nothing at Spurs. Hang about, he changed the whole, legacy at this football club. We expected European football. We used to celebrate. We got Europa League football. We did that, and then when they say, "Oh, he didn't win anything," hang about. He wasn't back for 518 days. 518 days. Yeah. We're all paying higher prices and a tax just to fund the club's debt.
But if you're using the he didn't win any argument, well then Sergio Ramos should be our manager. Postecoglou should still be our manager. If you're going to use that excuse, so I don't buy that either. No.
But Phil, staying with the transfer debate for a while, whether Frank was going to be sacked, I don't think he will now, because the way things are going, it looks like he's here for the summer. I mean, it's not Spurs DNA, but we know it's not a question of whether you change the manager or not in this transfer window, because every fan that have got a broad, knowledge of the aspects of football know that we needed a left winger, right? That's not rocket science, is it? And the same, and perhaps another striker, although I'd like to see Toll given a chance in front of Moani personally, because I don't think Moani's staying with us. But so then you got Solanke. I mean, it just beggars belief. I mean,
these things were clear, like in the summer. We didn't address them in the final 2 weeks of the window in August. like the left wing topic, Tell isn't the solution there, as Gary said. He's not a left winger. Odebert was never going to be the solution there in terms of him probably either being fully ready yet, but he's actually much better on the right. Ever since we started playing him on the right, anyways, he's actually bloomed like even more. Right? He just looks so much more confident, so much more dangerous. Kudus can't play on the left, or he did at West Ham, but he's not a left winger. We could have bought Lookman in the summer, still at the end of the window, straight away, and he can play on the left, right? He can play anywhere, really. We didn't. He was available at a good fee then. He was available at a good fee now. We didn't buy him. He's the kind of player that would have fitted into probably a lot of different managers, right? A Lookman can play under anyone, and he certainly would play under Poch. So, why wouldn't you pull the trigger there? Like, the fans know this. And what I just don't really understand is that, they had the last 4 months since the summer to plan for January, regardless.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it wasn't, it could have even been like a 20 million winger or something, or a 15 million winger. I know some of the fans would probably still complain, oh, that's not the kind of, caliber we want and need and everything else. But the reality is that, there's so many diamonds out there. We've bought often the wrong ones in the past, like NG, and Kulu, players like this, right? Diamande is probably the best example. Leipzig picked him up, a year ago or something for like, is it 3 million or 4 million or something,
No, it's about I think it's about 15 million euros.
Okay, maybe it was more.
Leganes, but he had only played a handful of games at Leganes, and now they've turned him into £100 million player.
They put him through their scouting process, which is very good within the Red Bull group, as we know. And they knew that he'd be a success. So those players are out there. Why couldn't we even get one of those in, right? Someone who's good enough probably to play now, but maybe they're not, they need a bit more time to get to that top level, on the basis that we might get that extra player in the summer when it is easier to do so. And again, what I just don't understand is this was the opportunity for the new board, for ENIC 2.0, to put their cards on the table almost properly, like through actions, not just through words, but through actions, and show the fans that they mean business. Never mind what Vinay said 2 weeks ago. Let's go back to the Q4, right? To last quarter last year, or to the summer when they came in. We're not going to sell the club. There was those kind of half offers that came in, didn't they, with that bidding thing where, the interested parties are kind of required by law, right, to either state their intent to bid or not. And they came out very strongly that time, said, we're not selling and we're going to invest. This was the opportunity for them just to, maybe not the 200 million, but they could have dropped another 50, 60 million. I say only on top of that 15 million net spend, having planned properly for the last 3 or 4 months. And the fans would have, I think, been happy with that. And then they could have said at the same time, so we brought in Gallagher, we brought in Souza, he's almost a Brazilian international. We brought in Lookman, and we brought in one more, this is it for now, right? But we just wanted to explain ourselves now, and we're going to go big in the summer. I think the fans would have been okay for that if they communicated that in the right way. But how they've done it now, every single fan, well, let's say 99% of fans are annoyed, frustrated, desolate, and depressed about it, because it's like ENIC are showing, I say their true colours again, but there's no change from before, but in some ways it almost seems worse compared to Levy, right? There's so many, there's polls out there saying, oh, who would you rather have, Daniel Levy or Vivian and Tavistock, whatever, Nick, and it's like 85% Levy. And we were chanting against Levy or ENIC when all those protests were happening end of last season. Even in the maybe it wasn't in the Europa League final itself, but certainly in some of those games before that, there was the ENIC out chants and that Levy song and all that kind of stuff. So I just think it's such a missed opportunity by the club, regardless of whether they didn't approve the funds in the end because they don't think Frank's the right guy, or whether Lange as well. And Paratici, if he was even there, who knows what he's been doing the last 4 weeks. you know, whether
Do you
they haven't done
think?
their.
Yeah, I'm gonna be
what I mean,
cynical now. I've got to throw a curveball in now. I'll throw it at you, Brad. Do you think they're saving the money to buy Levy shares?
Well, I've got to say about Paratici was. It's really funny that Fiorentina, where he's going to, signed about 5 players during the window. So, and we got those.
I don't think they've got the money.
They haven't got the money.
I think it's all talk. I think there's too much debt at the club. I don't think they've got the money. I think maybe they are going to try and they would have first refusal on these shares anyway. I would have thought they're not that stupid as if they're owning a multi-billion pound operation, they're not going to ever be out in a position where they're not going to have first refusal on shares. I got stung on a business I bought by doing that and lost it in the end, actually, because that was my first time I'd done it, but that's another story. But yeah, I'm not sure if they have the finances.
Do you think, Gary? Do you think that?
I think they're going to sell it. Something in me feels like they're trying to sell it.
Do you think that?
I agree.
They've made a decision, because we know that clubs have to put their accounts in from April to June. Do you think they're waiting to get out of this tax year to make a move in the summer, like a lot of clubs done? But there's going to be a lot more competition for players in the summer.
There's something in me that they came out, the PR, the well-produced videos, everything that they did in the summer, or just after Levy went, including Levy actually, because he was in the first one, was outstanding. And I was like, I like this. And I thought, if we're going to get more of this, I'm all for them. And this is why I was hesitant with the Change for Spurs protest a couple of weeks ago. They kept going on and they kept speaking well, giving out good information. And I thought, okay, let's see your money and see what you're worth in this January window. They failed it, but something in me just thinks, are they actually going to sell? Because if they were real fans, like they said they were, and that it's come out, then Vinay has said how much Vivian and Charlie and that are such a massive Tottenham fans. If you were such a huge Tottenham fan and you sat in that stadium like every game that I do, and you watch 11 players fit against Manchester City, who are just they don't even need Anton Semenyo. They've got a player that's out for about 3 weeks and gone, we're close to this league. We've got to go and spend 65 million. All right, we've got slight problem at the back. Let's go and get Mark Gahey. They're instant because they've got football people making football decisions below someone that has got.
And Pep was even moaning about they haven't spent enough money, but when they do bring a player in,
I think that was in jest.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, but when they do bring a player in, like Ryan Cherky, was tearing us to pieces, right? I mean, like how much they pay for him? They don't actually pay top wages, but they don't pay top money. I mean, they got Haaland for nothing because of their success.
You've got to look as well that the recruitment they're doing. They've got Ferran Soriano that came in and essentially helped save Barcelona with Joan Laporta, and then when they were trying to buy Beckham and they went and got Ronaldinho, and he helped with him and Tiki Beskiristain. They all built Barcelona into what it became with Pep, and then they've all gone to Man City. They're the people making the decisions. They're football people. They've played the game. Tiki Begiristain played loads of times for Barcelona. He's making the decisions. He's getting the information from the scouts, seeing the players, speaking to Pep. We need X, Y, and Z. They've got the money to spend. This is your money. Let's go for it. Whereas at Tottenham, we've always had suits or financial people making football decisions. And that is why the recruitment is so bad. But they're sitting there now. If they were, as they say they are, big, huge Tottenham fans, they cannot sit in that stadium. They sit just above me and sit there and watch that and think this is acceptable. Because as a Tottenham fan, knowing that you can control that and you've got that money and that power to change it for 63,000 people, you would do it. And that's why I don't think they are. I think it's all talk. And I essentially think they're going to try and sell this. I think the pressure is going to get too much, and they don't, because at the moment it's a depleting product. The stadium isn't full all the time now. We're going backwards because traditionally, as we've said, we're always in the Champions League or in Europe. We're decreasing the value of an asset. I think they're highly intelligent. They're going to want to take that 5 billion or whatever it is and go and sit on the Bahamas.
I mean, on Sunday, I mean, they were lucky in respect that we actually came out and played in the second half, because that could have got very, very toxic if we'd have been well beaten by Man City. But yeah,
I mean, they sit just above me, and I did check to see if they were there, and they were. You can see Vino definitely was. I thought, fair play. Apparently, there was heightened security around them because of Vivian being surrounded a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, it could have been. And I don't know if anyone saw it. I don't know if it came across on the TV. I've been ridiculously busy since the game. But Thomas Frank, when we scored, he kept looking up at them, because I say that he has to look over my head and kept going like that to them. And so there's definitely something there. He kept looking, and it was only going to be Vino, and there was Joan Lang up there, and he was doing that to him every time we scored. He kept looking up there, and I thought, oh, that's new.
How many times we had to pull it out of the bag in the second half and completely change our style of play? And we've done it. I mean, one thing about this team, it showed when it's been good and resilient, that back four looks like the best back four in the Premier League. And then we give away, but the goals we give away, Gary, I mean, you're a coach. I mean, they are so sloppy. If it was a deflection or a welding, things like that, you think okay, fair enough, we're unlucky. But
we're number one. We're number one in the league, aren't we? In terms of from build-up play, when we've misplaced a pass or when the opposition has intercepted our build-up play, we've conceded the most goals in the whole league.
We're trying to play a brand of football that doesn't suit us, that we can't play effectively. We can't throw this on poor Radu Dragic. He hadn't started a game in 12 months. He's thrown in there with a centre midfielder to the left, to the right of him, and then to the right of him was another centre midfielder. You can't throw. But unfortunately, they're the goals that came down for his side.
And I've been banging on all season and last season as well. We haven't got enough beef in midfield. You've got a pivot in there against Man City's 3. And we know how classy Man City are, right? And you're open your 2. All right, Moani was outstanding. He's up front, further forward. You've got two there, right? And Conor Gallagher hasn't had a regular midfielder alongside him. He looked a bit better in this game, second half. Everyone looked a bit better second half, though. But you've got that problem. And I've said, I'd rather it be like a 4-3-1-2 personally. I want to see that extra body in midfield because it's just made a difference. When we've had a fullback tuck in or someone at midfield, like against Liverpool, we outnumbered in midfield, and we start to have more of the ball. I mean, but yeah, I mean, we know that most games are won and lost in midfield. So, and fans dip out the strikers, they're rubbish. They did nothing during the game. Well, to dip a striker out as rubbish, he's got to have some service to make an error, right? To miss a golden opportunity or something, to dip him out. If the midfield can't get them the ball, we started the season, we were sitting too deep. The midfield was sitting deep in front of the back four. It worked. It made us resilient. And then we go to this. Right, let's stay on this, Brad. I want to stay with you on this because this depends on, we know what social media is, and there's a lot of low-tier media out there. So how you interpret what this guy said, whether disgraceful means unfortunate or not, right? Romero blasted the ball and the recruitment team. Cheers. Big up, Romero. I'm a big fan. I know some in our group are not so.
Well, I'm with Romero on this. Now, the question I read today comes: is it him actually saying that, or is it his management saying that because they want him out, want to get a new deal with another club? But then again, you think, well, why would he sign that new deal at the start of this season? No, I think he just wears his heart on his sleeve and comes out and says it. And it's really funny how he said that. And if you look back, Conte said more or less the same thing. Jose Mourinho said more or less the same thing. So it's quite common that this sort of statement comes out. And he's there trying to captain a team of 11 fit players. Him himself not being well. So yeah, I think I'm well with it. I'm the way I feel about our club at the moment. Yeah, I've got no problem with him saying that.
Phil, you can understand his angst, can't you? He signed a new contract to 29, probably with a additional clause added on to the 29, right? I probably understand the promises. All right, he could be a bit more relaxed in a Tottenham like Luis, Hugo Lloris was, but simply because he's won a World Cup, 2 Copa Americas, and he's won a Europa League. If he hadn't won any of them, he'd probably gone a season or two ago, right?
Yeah.
But so when he says lies, maybe they've lied to him on promises they've made. I mean, ENIC have got to get their arse into gear in this summer window, because I can see it will get toxic now towards the end of the season, right? But summer, it was going to get really toxic if they don't put their money where their mouths are. But what's your take on Romero?
Well, he was, flirting with Atletico Madrid last season, wasn't he? And they kind of came in for him, didn't they? Really, but they certainly weren't willing to pay anywhere near what we needed to make the deal happen. And I actually think that if they had put the money on the table, then we would have sold him last summer, to be honest. I'm pretty sure that Romero, he's come out and said it before, like his dream is to play in Spain, anyways. He wants the weather as well and everything else that comes with it over there. So I'm pretty sure he's going to end up there. But look, with him, I mean, he signed the new contract. I'm pretty sure that the club made some statements to him and some promises to him in terms of, signings, budgets, the new ENIC 2.0, regardless of what Romero thought about Ange, kind of like the painting this new kind of refresh start with Thomas Frank and new people in play, right? And they've gone back on it. And the only thing I would say is that, thank God, we are doing so well as we have done in the Champions League, because at least that keeps players like Romero, for the moment, at least invested into playing at a high level and getting to the knockouts and stuff, right? If we'd gone out of the Champions League now or finished like 25th or 26th or something, then I think there's anyways no doubt that Thomas Frank would be a goner at this point, right? There'd be absolutely no reason whatsoever that you could keep hold of him. But, that's the only thing probably keeping some of those players at least, kind of invested and happy again. But this is the second season in a row that all of these players, and Romero is one of the guys that has won everything, as you've said, apart from he's just missing, league titles in Europe and, right, in Europe. That's it. He's won everything else. This is the second season in a row where he's likely to finish bottom half, in the Premier League. I mean, that's just unacceptable for a player of his standing and of his level. And, I'm just not sure about Romero. I love his attitude. I love his passion, and, obviously that's the second time, isn't it? He's come out on social media and being quite critical towards the club or the board. And I commend him for it, to be honest, right? Whether it was planned or not, we don't know that. Whether the language used was accurate or not, it doesn't really matter. Certainly in how it was posted comes across very clear. All of the players liked it as well, or at least I saw yesterday evening. What was it, Gary? You said was it 6, 7, 10? Maybe, I don't know, whatever of our squad had liked it. Plus other players from other clubs as well, right? So he's making a statement there. And the problem that we have now, again, because of this lack of investment in the summer and now, and when I was talking about the planning before, that they haven't planned, that was before us getting all these injuries. That's why there's just no excuse that they didn't move to get some loans in, because we're going to look like, if Romero wants to go in the summer, like was reported today by quite a famous or well-connected Argentinian journalist, right? Again, it might be just connected to his agent, right? Who knows? They might have just put something out there to cause a bit of, some ripples in the market and online and stuff. But the reality is, if Romero wants to go this summer and he forces it through, despite him having, a longer term contract now, I think he goes, because we're not going to qualify for Europe as it stands. And I'm not sure. I know United have kind of been through that, obviously. They're maybe reaping the benefits of that now under Carrick, but also only playing once a week, but some players like Romero aren't going to stand for that. I mean, the fact is, right, if I compare it to United, if you're playing for Man United, they've been going through very bad times as well, like comparatively, although they did win, the FA Cup and the League Cup as well, didn't they, in the last couple of years? But the difference there, you're still playing for United. You're still playing for pretty much the biggest club in England, right? Really, United is still, from a historical standpoint, from a fan standpoint, it's the biggest club in England and one of the top 3 or 4 in Europe. That's the benefit that they have for their players, even if they don't go into Europe or they're not playing for the title. They can manage that somehow. We can't, because we don't have the track record. We won the cup last season, but in all honesty, that was a pure, let's be honest, that was a one-off. It was something that happened. We were the best club in the competition, along with United, pretty much, right? I'm not saying it was ours to lose, but we had to go there and win it, and we did it, and it was great that we did it, but it was a one-off. We're not going to win another trophy as it stands at the moment, because all of the other competitions we're in, we come up against too many better teams than us who are consistent. So what do you do with that? With Romero, it's a difficult one, because I love him and he's a great defender, but probably a lot of people aren't going to like this. But I was saying the same last season. If we get big money for him, or if we get clubs like Real, Barca, Atletico Madrid coming in with 80 million or 90 million or whatever, and he's up for it, kind of, because he's moody, then I would take the money and I would reinvest it theoretically.
Gary.
How do we know if we reinvest it? That's the problem, though, isn't it? Are we going to go out and buy, another player like that? Although we do have Vuskovic obviously coming in.
Yeah, but you want to maintain the strength of your squad and improve your squad in all areas with certain position, right? So Gary, like on that, I mean, you alluded to earlier, which I agree with, getting Poch. You're getting Poch. That calms down Romero and calms down VDV as well, doesn't it?
It's both Argentinians straight away, right? So you can they could probably have an open and honest conversation. Does he go in the summer? I'm not sure. Unless he forces his way out. He's got a long-term contract like Mickey does. If he does go, we can add it to the long list of players that we've had at the football club that are quote-unquote world-class, that the club has failed and not built a team around. Harry Kane, Gareth Bale, Luka Modric, Christian Romero. The list will keep going on, that we are not matching the ambition of our best players. We are essentially a Brighton, but on steroids, in terms of we're buying players in, selling them on for profit in a £1 billion stadium with the best training facilities in the country. That's essentially what we are becoming if they allow him to go.
I mean, we know that in the summer it's a 12-week window usually. We know we got the World Cup. Last year they started the window on June the 1st, if I recall. So because of competitions and that World Club Cup competition. So this year I'm not sure yet. I've got no info on when the window opens. Looks like it's going to be open by the time during the World Cup as well. I mean, I don't know if it is. The other issue is with players is we see it with PSG, didn't we? Them players are entitled by law to have 3 weeks rest, I think it is, after competition as well, which means if your season started, even if everyone's fit, again, I mean, like, you just couldn't make all this up. I mean, like, it's just beggars belief. I mean, like, and a lot of the rules. But going on to that, I want to move on. I mean, we've all had a little rant. Everyone's dissatisfied with the window, of course, right? I want to stay with you, Gary, because injury woes, right? Players' welfare. What do you see when you're coaching? What are the main injuries? Are they mainly ankle and hamstring, or are they knee injuries or thigh injuries, or
muscular injuries? Are generally through too much overload and doing the same thing too much and not resting. You can get freak injuries, like a knee injury, an ACL, MCL. You can get ankle injuries from tackles, just the normal stuff you'd expect from a contact sport. But in terms of muscular pulls, they're through overloads and doing too much and sprinting, not warming up correctly, maybe being too cold, too much physicality in training. They could put, it's
long VAR decisions, muscles cooling down.
Potentially, like I am convinced, and I could be completely wrong, but I've said it so many times that Richarlison's injury was because the Aston Villa player was down for such a long period of time in the FA Cup. He was injured, but he stayed down to allow Villa to make the sub because the sub wasn't free. He was clearly up, and then he went down. Richarlison stopped and then tried to move and then didn't, and it was absolutely freezing then. It was very early in the game, and I just don't think he was warmed up, and I think that went pretty close to his first sprint after. Sometimes you just get unlucky with that, but we're very unlucky. I don't think the managers we've had or have are listening to the sports scientists properly. So I think those sports scientists, they have to be telling these managers so-and-so needs a rest. And Ange Postecoglou, looking at the club, well, I ain't got no defenders. I've got to play them. And then Thomas Frank's the same. I ain't got no strikers. I've got depleted. I've got to play them. And, we were saying on this channel and other channels, Pedro Porro is going to get injured. It's coming.
Yeah.
It's
superhuman, isn't he?
Well,
Decky played over 40 games last year and got that injury, but Porro played 50 to 60. And then he starts again. He's been superhuman, and funnily enough, his injury, although it's hamstring, it's not a bad one apparently. So I think it's a month.
Yeah, but I have seen other people go, well, in other sports, it doesn't happen. But there's you look at the NFL. There's a long period of time where they're inactive, and they're short bursts. These are long bursts. You're sprinting up 50, 60 yards go on a good pace, and then with the how demanding the Premier League is. If you listen to what's his name from Newcastle,
Eddie Howe.
Gordon, he said the difference between the Premier League and the Champions League is that in the Champions League you get more time on the ball and you can move around, so there's periods of rest. In the Premier League, it is just like basketball; it's constant, and that takes strain on you, and you need a big squad to deal with that.
On that, Brad. I mean, in European football, we're allowed 12 subs. Is it time for 12 subs in the Premier League, or even bigger Premier League or ECL squads? Now, the caveat to that is poorer clubs will complain, and clubs in Europe will complain because we're richest league. We can afford to stack our teams out with 30 players. You know what I mean? Rather, they can't do that. But if we're talking players' welfare here, and extending their careers, something's got to be done.
12 substitutes. That's literally a whole team, isn't it? I mean, then you're getting into the realms of, having an attacking team and a defensive team, and we're 3-0 up at half time.
You got them in Europe. You have 12 subs in Europe, even though we couldn't fill 12.
Having 5 subs, 6 subs, 7 subs, rather than, you and I, Adrian, will remember it was just 1 sub.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good idea. I'm not sure. Maybe bigger squads. Maybe you should have a situation like you do in Europe.
You can have 12 names. You can't make 12 in Europe. You can make 5 in Europe. You can have 12 people on the bench. You can't make 12.
It's 5 subs with 2 concussion subs.
Right.
And I think there's even a 3rd concussion sub if it's a goalkeeper or something. I'm not sure, but it's definitely 2 concussion subs you're allowed. Spurs will get 3.
As one of my hobbies, I've looked at physics and quantum mechanics and all this sort of stuff, and I find that a lot easier than the actual Champions League squads. How you make your squad in that, all these homegrown players and brought up players and players that have yellow hair and all this sort of thing, 3-legged players. Only about 2 of those. It's too complicated. Let's make it easy, and certainly the Champions League. Yeah, let's want to make it 30 players. Or even have a rule where if you do have a player out of a long-term injury, you can replace him.
I like that idea.
You know?
I like that idea because them squads, apart from what happened with Tel and Moani this season, Phil, come to you. Apart from what happened with Tel and Moani, I mean, and then that rule ends. You know, I mean, this is ridiculous. You know, some of these rules that still exist that we find out as we go through competitions are absolutely. I mean, at one time there was a rule you could only have 3 subs warm up along the touchline at any one time. You couldn't have 5. I mean, like, what the fuck is that about? You know what I mean? I mean, like, I think they've changed that one. So
I think could I just say something about the kind of injury situation and our kind of health, you know, the sports scientists and the kind of sport approach. I mean, as Gary said, you know, I can't believe that the people that we hire, you know, in our medical department or, you know, sports science nowadays, which is obviously so advanced anyways, right? You can see it, like if you look at some of the players actually rehabbing from their injuries, you know, like on Madder's documentary series that he's got. It's so advanced. But I can't believe that there would be a correlation between, you know, a lot of fans always say, oh, what are we doing? Like, what are they doing? Like, what are our medical staff doing? You know, they're not good enough. Like, you know, are they subpar? You know, I can't believe that. You know, we had Jeff Scott. Do you remember him? He was the New Zealand kind of head of sports science or head of you know, head of that side for us, right, for many years. And I think he left in summer of 2024, so 18 months ago. And since then, we've pretty much, you know, swapped out like that whole team, like the responsible people in there anyways, right? So theoretically, we looked at it already then and actually decided to make some changes, and we hired some really, really, you know, high quality, highly rated people, which we've obviously continued to do today, right, with someone else coming in. But like as Gary said, is it just something to do with the communication our club internally? Because, you know, a lot of fans just look at it and say, what are we doing? Why have we got the most injuries? Like, you know, improve hire new people, you know, like we need to get better sports scientists in. You know, I can't accept that. I don't. If you look at what
every player's tracked,
exactly.
So they have like, it looks a bit like a sports bra, and they got a little tracker in the back, and that's at training. I believe some are even tracked with something around that arm in games. You might see it sometimes in the continent when they take their shirt off. They'll have that looks like, you know, like a black band. They're tracked, and they're also tracked by the tablets, by the analysts. They're all tracked. It's just the managers are not listening, potentially not listening.
See, the thing is,
come off because we don't have enough players.
Yeah. The thing is, Phil, we see these little clips of them training or in the gym, and like it seems a bit disorganized. Like everyone's doing their own thing at a different weight machine or whatever it is, or lifting a free weight and something like that. And I trained for 30 years now. What I was doing, maybe it's outdated now. I don't know how the players warm up properly or warm down, right? When I was taught, right, what we did, we went on the bike for 5 minutes before we started training with no resistance at all. All you want to do is get the core temperature of your body up. So as all the nutrients in your bodies, they get through your veins and sinews and tendons and get to them, right? If you had something like a hamstring injury, you'd go on a leg curl machine where you were lying face down on the machine, your feet tuck under a padded area, which you lift up with your heels, right? But you don't do it with any weight because you've got a hamstring problem, right? So no weight again. And what you do is you warm up your hamstrings. It's a bit like if you've got a stick of toffee, you take it out of the freezer, strip, you can snap it. Once it's warmed up, it's pliable, isn't it? I know this might seem like a too simple analogy, but I'm just trying to explain it because people don't know. But that's it. Now, I don't know. I mean, Gary, you coach. How do players warm up? Do you see them warm up in the gym, or I mean, outside they're just moving around? But do they warm up in the gym? Do they go on the bike?
Yeah, they've got bikes. They've got bikes in there. Sometimes you have some players might play little games in there as well with a small ball. You might foot tennis. Just get the body moving. There's bikes. There's all sorts. There's loads of stuff. Cross trainers. There's everything that you can think of. I can only put it down to one thing. I just don't think we've got the squad available, and players are being overplayed because there isn't enough
that's definitely
additional player depth, but also there isn't enough patience in that manager. You think Thomas Frank was here all of 3 months, and a load of people were asking him to be sacked.
I mean,
so he's going to make decisions that aren't correct, and I think Ange Postecoglou was in the same situation as well.
I mean, Gray played 7 games on the turn. I mentioned at the time, so that's his 7th game. If he may get injured if he continues to play him, and I don't want Laughing Gas to play 7 games. I don't even.
Well, he was essentially crawling off the pitch on Sunday. Archie Gray, he could literally hardly walk getting off that pitch. He took his boots off, everything, and the players are knackered.
Solanke.
Again, he's subjective amongst fan base because he doesn't look as sexy as a Moani or even a Bergvall. I just think he's absolute quality, what he brings to you, what he gives to your team. But that's just me. Yeah, so, right, on the subject of health, Phil, another ex-Brentford appointment, Liam Horgan, Crystal Palace. He's come from Crystal Palace. First team physiotherapist. He's the 9th ex-Brentford member of Frank's backroom staff we've got at the club. You sack Frank, you got to get rid of all of these as well, mate. And there might be a few others in different departments.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, sacking Frank and sacking all of his, kind of team from the past is going to cost, millions and millions, right? On top of just him and Cochrane and the other 2, but a lot of these other people are Frank's guys. I don't know. Like it kind of makes it out though that the board or Vinay, let's say, because Vinay is obviously wholeheartedly behind Frank, are basically continuing to support Frank, but they're obviously going for his suggestions, right, or for the suggestions of him and his team that have come in already. Because theoretically, again, if you're putting out a job, if you would be putting out a job spec, kind of advertising a role, theoretically, right? Because you could advertise that role. I don't know if we did. The club often do like advertise roles, right? Even, within obviously the sports science team. But if you advertise that role or got a headhunter working on it, which the club also do on occasion, then you'd get a selection of candidates for that kind of position. But for something like that, it seems to me that they've obviously gone with a recommendation straight away and got someone in that Frank knows. And I don't know how long they give these kind of people contracts for. So, maybe you guys know more, maybe you know more, Gary, but I would assume that for kind of for not coaching kind of members of staff, so not like the manager and the assistant manager, but let's say employees of the club in sports science and, rehab and stuff, that they would just have normal kind of employment contracts with like more normal kind of notice periods and stuff. It's just something to bear in mind, right? Because obviously normally the manager signs
from a coaching standpoint. Maybe I think if it's a medical and sports scientist, maybe like a normal contract to us, but a coach is definitely like you would see a Thomas Frank. Ultimately, in any employment, if you're in it within the first 2 years, you can be sacked if they want anyway. And that happens in most workplaces anyway. So within that 2 years period in the UK, I don't know what it's like abroad, but
it just seems interesting that they are going with this kind of Brentford approach, right? En masse. It's not just 1 or 2 hires from Brentford, but it's literally, as we said, 9 now. So
I mean, he left Brentford and he hasn't come directly from Brentford. He's been there previously. I don't think he's been signed from Brentford. I
didn't know that.
No, he hasn't signed from. He's been at
Palace.
It's not direct.
He was at Brentford with Frank for about 5 years, I believe, right?
Yes, it's not direct. Again, that's quite normal. But I think, like you were saying, Adrian, if Thomas Frank is sacked in the summer, it's a huge, huge package that they've got to pay out. And it might be the case that they're just going, okay, let's just wind it down for these few months and we have to pay him slightly less unless we did it now. That type of scenario.
Or you keep them, or you keep them, or some of them stay in some, because usually they follow the manager when he's got a new job. Some of them might, some of them might not. You know, so yeah. Right, we got 450 of you viewing us on various platforms, guys. I mean, like, thanks a lot for the support, especially midweek when there's work tomorrow if you're UK based. Yeah, I want to thank everyone in the chat for their comments. We're not ending the show, don't panic. Right? I want to thank everyone in the show for your comments and your questions, and all you watching us on various platforms. Right, I'm going to plug the other guys here now. So get over to Gary at Project Spurs, do fantastic content over there. He's usually got Phil on when we haven't kidnapped him to get him on our show. So like he's over there. And so you can find him Project Spurs. If you're watching on playback, big up, get over there as well, please. You can find Phil at Frankfurt Spurs on XCOM as well. Get over and subscribe to him as well. You know, as you can see, these guys, they talk a lot of sense. They know their football. And you can find Brad over at Blue Sofa Songs. Brad writes a lot of songs and plays the guitar and that. Get over there to his channel and subscribe to his channel. Like I said, if you like the content we bring on Spurs Diehards TTID, please go to our YouTube channel and the same with the other guys and subscribe to the channel and give the video a thumbs up, because it really helps the algorithm. Gary's got great support on various platforms other than YouTube at the present, and like it's just started out doing ever so well, and we need to get his numbers up as well. Like, you know, it's only, I don't know how many you got at the moment on there, Gary. Probably a couple of hundred or something. I don't know.
On YouTube,
yeah,
I think we got like 160. But
yeah,
my Facebook, it's my X, my Twitter, which I'm streaming through now. I mean, there's 340 people watching through my channel now.
And guys,
that's what does great for us over there. But yeah,
and guys, let's get it over 1,000. Yeah, I mean, like, you got to get over there and subscribe to the channel, right? So let's get the numbers up. Yeah, and yeah, it's viewers that count more than people in your chat channel, right? Because it's how many watch you actually show how much you like the content. The fact we got 450 here shows that you do like us. We must be doing something right. Okay, plug over. Let's move on to, we've done the injury woes, right? Okay.
By the way, I know no one wants to hear this, but Arsenal won their game 1-0 tonight. So
they're through. It's the final.
In the League Cup final, yeah. Well,
I think tomorrow Newcastle, yeah.
I think they play tomorrow, don't they? City Newcastle.
Okay, let's just talk about this guy, and then we'll finish on a good note. Brad, we ain't spent no money, so if they ain't going to afford to buy out players, they're not paying out any contracts, are they? And paying out coaching staff.
No, I think Frank's going to be here for the rest of the season. Given a chance to turn around, and to be fair, I think that's fair enough. Pochettino, who we spoke about earlier, didn't have the best of starts for Tottenham. Admittedly, we weren't 14th, but he ended up finishing 5th in his first season. I think got to the League Cup final, but I think, and as someone said earlier, there's no one to replace him anyway. Who's gonna take over? So I think his job's safer to the end of the season. And it'll be very, very interesting because not only is Pochettino free, but there's a few managers free in the summer. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. And maybe there might be a takeover. Who knows? You know what? I'm bemused at this football club at the moment. I have no idea what's going on, what's happening with the board, what we're doing in transfer windows, what the players are doing, because 1 minute we're brilliant, next minute we're not. It's just a really strange club at the moment. But yeah, I've been following it for 50 odd years now, so
yeah, I know Gary's got to go, so we'll let him have his say. I mean, like, when I first started supporting this club many moonshots ago, I might add, right? We didn't talk about the board and Sydney Whale and all that. We didn't talk about money. We didn't talk about any of this. Yeah. We just we supported the managers, supported the players, and I still do it now. While they're at the club, I'll support them. Same with Frank, and even Laughing Gas. While they're at the club, I'll support them. And then, like, when you're gone, thanks for your contribution. Goodbye. You know what I mean? But things need to change. And the point is, Gary, the frustrating thing is we've got to wait till the summer now to see if things are really going to change, aren't we?
Yeah, it's going to be a long few months. They had the opportunity. The opportunity was right there. The fan base were ready for it. And like the game at the weekend, first half was pretty dead. Doggy's shot in that second half, early in that second half, and then we erupted. All we need as a fan base is that much, just that much, and we're with you, and we'll drag it across the line and drag you and help the best we can. But again, the fact the ownership has failed us as a fan base, they've failed the players, and yet another manager. Thomas Frank's not a bad person. He's a pretty good coach to what he's done. He's also been failed. Andrus failed. Conte was failed. Jose was failed. The biggest one, Mauricio Pochettino, was failed. They will continue to do that because I don't believe they are Tottenham Hotspur fans. Money to them is more important than sporting success. They want Beyonce, the NFL, boxing, David Hay. I don't even know if David Hay fights anymore. We might not. I don't know. They want those type of things that they can sit in a boardroom and say, hey, we got the NFL here in a couple of weeks. We got that. Do you know what? We've got an F1 track under our stands.
We got Bad Bunny.
And we got Bad Bunny, and we've got Conor Ben and all those things. Oh, how's your football club? How's the football team doing? Do you know what? Beyonce's here in a couple of weeks. I can get you. That's what they want.
You know what, Gary? Sorry to interrupt, but you're spot on. I was at my local station some months back. There's a big, massive poster. Come to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. See this. See this. See this. See this.
Yeah.
Nothing about the football club. Nothing at all. Yeah.
That's what they want. And I'll be the first person, and I've said this yesterday when I was on another podcast. I said I'll be the first one to say thank you very much for everything they've done. Like, they've built an incredible stadium, incredible facilities. We've won 2 trophies under them. Thank you so much. Wish you the absolute best. But please let somebody come here that wants sporting success at a football club. I don't care about commercial success. That's not why I'm a football fan. I don't care that, I don't know, the NFL were there. I do not, and I like the NFL. It does not matter to me. I'm a football fan and I want to see football and success. All I want to see is that little bit of progression, and I'm in. And at the moment, I'm so out. It's just, and I'm still spending money going there. And sometimes I even said at half time to myself, what the fuck am I doing here? I could be doing anything right now. Anything.
I said it every half time.
Why am I here? Why am I sat here?
But although we back managers when they come in, the problem is though, Gary, I mean, like, I go back, like, you got Arthur Rowe, Bill Nicholson, you go through Birkinshaw, Venables, Poch, Joel, Redknapp. They are Spurs DNA managers. Even on our dealers who failed, they were Spurs DNA managers. Conte and Mourinho, although they're world class and right, they're egocentric managers. They like to think they're bigger than a football club. They're not. Even Nuno, they weren't the right managers for us. They're not too daring to do managers. Thomas Frank is not too daring. He's a nice guy, but like, he's not a too daring to do manager. He's been very conservative, very cautious in his approach in games. And when you look at most of the Premier League, most of the managers are that way as well. You understand it.
It comes down to the ownership again. Is that they don't. If they are Tottenham Hotspur fans, there is 400 or 500 people watching this, and there's 4 people sitting on here. I guarantee you, if we all sat in a room together, we would be able to probably, almost certainly, 90% agree on what we want to see from our team and the manager. They don't understand that. Because they don't understand it. They need to be sat. It's called a green room on this, right? They need to be sat in there on all these podcasts and listen to people like us. Look at all of these comments because they're all nailed on, most of them, apart from the some of the weird ones you get. But and listen to that, and that will tell them what because they don't have to do a lot. There isn't. But they're not Tottenham Hotspur fans. They don't care enough. They're not bothered by it. As long as it's making money, that's all that matters to them. They're not. They're only here for one thing, and that is money, and that's it. And I think it's they're in board meetings. They're in these investment meetings because they're investment bankers, aren't they? Sitting there and saying, "Yeah, we do stuff with the NFL. Yeah, we do stuff with this company and this company." And I bet they don't even talk about football.
It's good image.
To answer you, Mashing a Joe, right? All right, fair comment, right? But my caveat to that is, if that money had been distributed in larger amounts on better quality players, we wouldn't be where we are now. What we've done, we've had a shotgun approach. We brought in Nkuda, NG, Jensen. You can
the issue
name.
there is he's correct. Yeah, we've had the fourth biggest net spend in the last 5 years, but we've gone from one manager that wants to play this way, and then we've gone 180 degrees and gone to this manager that wants to play another way. We've got to then play.
But we shopped in Poundland, not in Harrods, Gary. We shopped in Poundland, not in Harrods.
The issue is your alignment is like this. If you have
sporting director
Manchester City, you know what Manchester City wants to, how they want to play, what players they're going to get. There's an alignment that's like this. You get that at most clubs. Brentford were doing it. Bournemouth are certainly doing it. Brighton certainly do it as well. Our alignment is like this. We've gone from a guy that wants to develop players and is happy to bring in across the players to somebody that wants win now mentality players, and we're not buying that. Then we flip to somebody that wants to play flat out attacking football, and then we don't buy the players for that. Then we go a whole 180 degrees to go to Thomas Frank. Apparently he's a defensive-minded manager. Don't bring him any defensive-minded players in. Like, what are we doing? The alignment is so off because they don't understand and don't get it. They are business people, probably very successful. But I mean, I could sit for hours, but I do have to go.
Thanks for coming on, Gary. We get you back, you know that, and we'll
I appreciate your time.
We'll come on your show, we'll always come on.
I'll give you two subsidy shows because I've got two YouTube accounts. So
thanks very much. I do appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Have a good evening, everybody.
You too. See you later.
Let's finish on a positive note because Brad, we'll come to you, Frank. Phil, you haven't said nothing for a while. Man City 2-2. I mean, to a lot of Spurs fans, I was at the stadium. To them, they were coming out saying this seems like a win rather than a draw. What was your take on the game? I mean, I'm going to whack up some individual performances. I've just picked these out because I thought they were the pick of the crop second half.
Well, I think if we come away from the first half and we come away from the transfer window and everything else, as you've written there, in terms of individual performances, we do have to recognise that, Xavi was simply outstanding in that game. Like, that was a sexy performance. Like he was good. He was already good against Dortmund. He was already good against Frankfurt, and yesterday was his third game in a row where he got better. And he got better through that game, right? Like winning all the 50-50s. I mean, that's the Xavi that we bought. And, just like Florian Wirtz at Liverpool, who's taken a bit longer to get up and running, just shows you that, you need to give these players and allow them a bit of time and give them a bit of slack as well, right? Not get on their backs and stuff. Because as we've said here, the Premier League is a different beast when it comes to time on the ball and counter-pressing. Solanke, wow, I mean, he's only just back from injury. He's already scored, 4 goals?
Yeah,
since coming back, and good goals, good finishes, literally a one-off goal, right? A scorpion kick, push gas contender, another push gas contender for Jan Vertonghen that he watched live. I don't know if you saw his post.
Well, that's got to compare with Richarlison's scissor kick as well.
And Mickey's goal as well, so. He was fantastic, Solanke, and it just shows what we've been missing. And to be honest, what Frank has been missing as well, right? In terms of having that striker up front where the ball kind of sticks off him and, brings other people into play. I think Xavi and Solanke, by the way, I think they really, complement each other as well. Palina was outstanding at centre-back. Gallagher was
the assist, didn't he? To win that ball and get down the right for that score.
His goal, wasn't it? His goal.
It was all Gallagher, just from his energy and persistence, right? And the cross was good. First time cross, he didn't muck around. Gray, Archie, he can play in any position, but he still delivers. He's 19 years old. He's played 120 odd professional games or something at 19. I think you do well to find any other professional player, right, in in any of the top leagues who's played that many games at 19.
Such a good. You've got to have something special at 19. He's got such a good football IQ. The positions he takes up, and he's got a great engine. He was gassed at the end, but he will bust his gut for you. Like, you know, he can tackle. He's good. He's good. I mean, look, you can't have every player in your team. You know, a midfielder can't be a De Bruyne, right? You know, I mean, or an Oddle. You know, I mean, you've got to have a player like Gray. I think is worth his weight in gold. I'd play him 100 times to have laughing gas on that field. Who gave away the first goal? Gave the ball away for the first goal as well. Mr. Inconsistency. I want him out of this football club. He always puts. Go on.
So just on Gray as well. Do you remember when he made that error with Vic? I can't remember against. It wasn't. You know where Vic
he got mugged, didn't he, on the ball running into the penalty area?
You know, did he let him?
It's my fault.
Yeah. Did he let himself get like negged out by that? You know, no, he didn't. He moved on, and he went to another height. You know, he improved even. And I don't want to say that. You know, Gray is going to kind of be the next Declan Rice, because that's not fair to him, and it's not fair to Declan Rice probably, because they're again slightly different players.
He's going to be a star for us anyway. He's going to be a star.
But he's better than Declan Rice was at 19, right? In terms of what he'd achieved and what he's done. And wherever Gray ends up playing, whether it is just as that midfielder, whether it's, you know, I don't know, right? He can play so many roles, but wherever he ends up finding a spot and kind of making himself like the first or second kind of name on the team sheet, he's going to be. I think he's a future Spurs captain for us at some point, and I really, really hope that he's one of those players. He's a bit
quiet though, isn't he? He's a bit quiet. Maybe it's because he's got older players around him though, so maybe he might speak up. I don't know.
Yeah, but he comes across. He's a very polite, like well-spoken lad, isn't he? He's been brought up very well. He's obviously comes from a famous footballing family.
Eddie Gray, yeah.
You know, his younger brother is supposedly just as good as him, or you know, like almost as good as him, whatever. But you know, he's a very soft-spoken lad and everything. And I think he's still growing, and I think he's still learning. You know, he's been thrust in, and I think he's going to bloom a bit in terms of being confident, in terms of what he can say and what he can get away with. You know, I think in the team, we always moan about having not enough leaders in the team and stuff like that. But there is players in our squad who I think would kind of talk over him, you know, and that will be his kind of place to learn. And he, you know what, he's going to learn from Conor Gallagher a lot as well, like just in terms of leadership and, you know, passion and kind of motivation and all these kind of things on top. And look, I mean, you know, in terms of the performance that overall the individuals, but also the team in the end, you know, like if we detract it from the transfer window, you know, we have to probably still admit that since, you know, Burnley, since Dortmund, really, and I know the Champions League games have been a bit easier, right, in terms of more space on the ball, we've looked better as a whole. We've created more chances compared to, you know, the beginning of the month, or compared to like the Chelsea and Arsenal games, right? The famous 0.01 or whatever it was. You know, we are creating stuff. We are looking better coming forward as well. And Solanke
started on the front foot in these European games, so haven't we? Like with Man City, it looked like, oh, we're going to sit back.
Yeah.
If you're playing a back five,
that's true. That's true.
If your wing backs are pushed back, you're going to have a really tough game.
I think a problem on Sunday that I could see, as you know, Adrian, Phil, maybe not. I'm season ticket holder, go to home games. I didn't go on Sunday for various reasons. The impression I got was the crowd weren't really up for it at the start. Now, if that goes back to hang on a minute, if Man's, you know, we got to let Man City because of Arsenal, which I totally disagree with. But I got that impression that there were people there that weren't, what do we do? What do we do?
They were until City scored.
Right. Because I don't
know if they were behind the team again, because we all know, don't you? Sometimes, like, when you're struggling, you need the team to lift the crowd. You get them other games like Dortmund, it worked both ways. The team lifted the crowd lifted the team. We were doing well. We haven't seen too much of that this season. You know
No,
what I
I
mean?
just don't understand why. And when they suddenly came out and was really at it in the second half, why weren't they like that in the first half? I don't. Maybe it's because at half time it's 2-0. They think, oh, we got nothing to lose. Let's go for it. You know, maybe that's what it is. Maybe the Champions League, it's like, oh well, we ain't going to win it. Let's give it a go. You know, maybe that's what it is. I don't know.
With Xavi, I mean, fantastic performance by Xavi. And although, all right, he's not the biggest player in the world, but neither was our dealers. You know what I mean? When you can get, he does get occasionally gets out muscled and knocked the ball, but he ain't frightened to put a challenge in. He got a booking. He ain't frightened to put a challenge in either. He gives as good as he gets. You know what I mean?
He's ball. You know, he gets the ball back, doesn't he? You know, and he gets stuck in. The only thing I do feel a problem with is he's going to get a lot of fouls during the season, and we don't want to get injured by any of these fouls. But yeah, that list you put down there, I mean, they were just. We look at a different team with Solanke, Xavi. Just a top.
Well, you see on that, I mean, like, this is what I put. I mean, like, how good is this squad when everyone is fit? Now, my big argument, everyone knows I've been banging on about the midfield all year. And we know that people have been trying to David Clark ones, or will always defend Madison, or I think's quality, and it's not so keen on Kulu. I don't like comparing our players against each other. One, they're different styles of player anyway. Both players, what I describe people, both players are great in their own way. When people get me to argue Pele and Madonna, I go, both players are great in their own way. Why are you comparing them, right? And the thing what we've got, though, even excluding Kudus here, if you had these two in midfield with Xavi, right? I mean, because you've got Madison and Kulu there as well, experience, right? What we haven't got in midfield at the moment is the goals. Those two contributed 22 goals last year. Now, when you look for our midfield, whether it's Bergvall, whether it's Bentancur, whether it's Gray, whether it's Gallagher, even Xavi, right? Where are two of those players that I've mentioned going to get you 22 goals? So fans, all I'd say is don't get on the case of these two because they contribute much more to the team than people realise.
I mean, we saw it. We saw it when Kane and Son were in their pomp. You also had Eriksen and Dele Alli scoring many, many goals from the midfield. And we don't seem to have that recently. And as you say, Kulusevski and Madison do score their fair share of goals. I mean, the thing is, once you get these players back, you can rotate your team a lot more. You can cover injuries. At the moment, we're on the bare bones. And the team would be dangerous.
Risk of more injuries at the moment. Go on.
Well, if the team could play for 90 minutes, rather than these halves here and a half there, it's consistency. But going back to Thomas Frank, I think this is where the problem the fans have with Thomas Frank is that he said at the start of the season, oh, we're going to lose games, I can guarantee that. Well, every football fan knows that, but you don't want to hear your manager saying it. And also when he's been saying, oh, well, we've had some good patches in games. We've been playing, there have been times it's been working. Yeah, he's probably right, but you don't want him to say that when we've had a bad loss. And I think this is where the fans get upset with Thomas Frank. But let's see how we go when we get players back. If they start playing more than 45 minutes, And also, if point I wanted to make earlier, when Vicario doesn't give as much concentration on his near post when he's trying to save these long shots because he gets beaten at his far post.
Well, on Vicario, Phil, I think I posted a video of our whole journey through the Europa League. And when you look at all the games, you realise how good he was. We know he makes errors.
No, he's a great. I just think he's got a. And it wasn't me. I didn't look.
Phil, you wanted to come in, say something.
No, I was just going to say that if you look at those names there, Kulusevski, Madison, Kudus, just those three. I mean, I'm excited about having those guys coming back. Obviously, because the thing is that Madison can play multiple roles as well. He can either play. If Frank persists with that three at the back and the two number 10s, a bit like the Oliver Glasner kind of tried and tested way, I think who's been doing that, then Madder's actually fit. He can play the number 10 role together with Xavi as an example, but he can also sit as a deeper midfielder, which is obviously something that we miss, that deep lying playmaker, DLP, as I think the next generation call it nowadays online, right? I've got no idea, but like literally you know, that's the in thing, isn't it? That's your Elliot Anderson.
What I
your,
like about it, if you were
Wharton.
playing a Xavi and a Maddison, who's more of a playmaker than Kulu is, because Kulu now, I see him on the right as competition for Kudus, basically, more than in the middle. Because if you've got Xavi and Maddison, we always just scream when Maddison kept picking the ball up off the back four. Well, Maddison can do that if Xavi's up front. Xavi can do it if Maddison's up front. And I think that link between those two would be excellent. When we had Odell Dealers and Vila, for those who watching us or listening to us on various platforms, I remember Malcolm Allison turning around and saying, he said, "Oh, Spurs can't defend. You know, no one in midfield. You know, apart from Ricky Vila who could put a tackle in." You know, Malcolm Allison turned around and said, "Well, the problem with that argument is during a game, Spurs have got 70% of the ball and they win it in the time they've got it. And if you score one, we score three." And that's what it was like, right? So a bit like City in their prime, you know, we were back then. I mean, like, you talk about tiki-taka football. We were playing that in the 80s, in the early 80s. So, yeah, so that excites me. And Kudus, I've said it. I mean, an issue with me is I wanted the player in. He's a very good footballer. He's got up his goal rate. I mean, you can have Messi and Ronaldo on your wings. If they don't score goals, if you go back through the seasons, I mean, Man City won 7 out of the last 8, 9, 10, whatever it is. I mean, 2 or 3 times or twice, they scored 100 goals, Phil. I mean, look at us. We got 86 goals and we finished second. We actually scored 1 more goal than Chelsea and conceded 1 less. Normally that would win you the league. And we finished second. And you look at this team and you think, fine, but looking ahead, I know we're a mess. Looking ahead, where are we getting 86 goals from? We don't. He's in his second season. He did well last year to get 15 in all competitions, right? Richarlison, I think you could out him in the summer, right? But he wants to go at the World Cup. So where are we getting 86 goals? If back in the days you rely on your front two to get you 20 and 25 goals each, you'd have a pair. Every club had 4 strikers, you know. And then like your wingers would chip in with goals. I mean, 1 in 4 strike rate was considered good. So you'd want say 10 goals and either wing 20 for your front striker, that's 40. Where are you getting the other 46 goals from? You know, that's why you need this is why you need Kulusevski and Maddison in your team, because they will get you goals, right? That's why Basuma can go, right, straight away, in my opinion, right? He's one I'd kick out the door. But unfortunately, we're going to need him just to prevent injuries to Gray and others by overplaying them. Go on, Phil.
I mean, some of these other players are going to get injured as well, right? So probably someone like Archie Gray, at some point, he's going to get an injury, right, and be out for a bit, you know. Same as Odebert, as an example. But when you look at it a different way, when these key players come back, I mean, you've listed it there, right? Anyways,
yeah, there's the injured list. Madders, Kulu, Bentancur, Danso, but that's a good bench. That's a good bench.
If you look at the balance of the squad, and we said it earlier about that left-sided player, right? Whether they're a winger, you know, forward, left wing back again, whatever, right? But if you look at the players that we have there, you mentioned that Kulusevski, probably his best role for us is to be on the right and to challenge Kudus there. Well, bear in mind that Odebert has played his best football for us on the right at the moment, and he's getting better and better by the game. You know, literally, you can see it, right, in his performances. He's going to be a star. Now, of course, some of those players can be flexible, so Odebert can play on the left, but whether he's really a left winger, I don't know. You know, he's going to be a good player for us, but we still need to see with him. But we've got Kulusevski, Kudus, and Odebert, who are all good enough to play as a right winger, right, as it stands. Plus maybe a Tell, if he had to, right? Tell actually plays on the right often for France, just out of interest, right, for the under-21s. But then on the left, we've only got well, who do we have actually?
Well, actually, I mean, Frank did try. He did when he didn't get injured. He did try Bergvall out there because he came after that 10 minutes in concussion. He was going to play Bergvall on the left attacking midfielder more than winger, right? So That was an option. Obviously, you can throw Tell out there. I mean, the positive we've got for all the shit show that we've witnessed this season with injuries and that is the fact that a lot of these young players have been given game time they wouldn't have got. They'd have been drip fed into the squad if everyone had been fit. Madison Cooley had been fit. They'd have been drip fed. And we've actually seen, we know Moani, we know he's only going to get better. Xavi's only going to get better and better. But as you've alluded to, and others have alluded to,
Sure.
Odebert and Tell, we've watched for the French under-21s. And in Spurs' recent games, they've both raised their game. They're not quite at the level we expect yet, but you can see they will get there, right? And then you've got Gray, who you'd think have been playing for years, and Bergvall as well. I mean, these players, Bergvall only got his crack towards the last end of last season because Gray was playing multiple positions all through the season. And then Bergvall come in and he started to really step it up towards the end. Nobody thought, I always said, though, Gray will settle first because he's been in a championship and it's a tough grounding in the championship. So I knew Gray would settle first. And so that's the plus. I don't want any of these players to go on loan or anywhere. We keep them. You know what I mean? So,
we still got Mikey Moore as well. Right?
Yeah.
Whether Mikey does another year somewhere else, whether it's in the championship or maybe he stays at Rangers even, I don't know. But there's an argument that he might need another year because physically he doesn't quite look all there yet.
Phil, do you think that will depend on the January transfer window? Because if we can't get someone in on the left, and he's a ball carrier as well, you bring him in. I mean, I would bring him in anyway because I love the player. I watched him, I've watched him for ages now, right? The same as me and you had a discussion about Vaskovic. I just think he's the best defender I've ever seen for his age. And that compares with Beckenbauer and Bobby Moore. I didn't see at that age, but he is the best. Even Ledley King is the best. He's just every metric. He's just got it all. He's got it all.
You saw what I think I posted in the WhatsApp group, but you saw what Lothar Matthäus said at the weekend because he was watching Hamburg's game. And Matthäus obviously, he won. Well, he won the World Cup, didn't he? And the Euros with
Germany, I think, as well.
Yeah, he still has. Or he might have been beaten by by Neuer now, but he was for years he was number one, and he's still probably voted as one. He's certainly one of the top three ever.
As a legend,
German footballers because he could also play every role, couldn't he? I remember him growing up in the 80s, and he could play sweeper, midfielder, up front, whatever. But he came out of the weekend and he said that when he was Vuckovic's age, he wasn't anywhere near that level. And he said Vuskovic looks like he's played 3 World Cups. That's what he said in that game. And he said on TV, he said, if I was Bayern Munich, then, I'd be going all out to get this lad in ASAP. And you can be sure that there'll be big clubs. Remember, we beat a lot of clubs, obviously, to sign him. Right? It wasn't that no one knew about him.
I think it was, although he couldn't sign officially professionally because he wasn't 18 till in February. And we announced a league squad in January, obviously. We paid, I think it was 12.5 million for him to Hedgick split as a 16-year-old. Yeah. He then went out to the Polish side, smashed it, went to Westerlo, whatever you call it, Belt, smashed it there. He's now smashing it in Germany. Well, the next step up is the Premier League, isn't it? And even if he had a wonky start, I've got every faith in this player is going to be world class. He's going to be world class.
He was voted as the best player in the Bundesliga for the first half of the season.
Yeah.
When you bear in mind
goal and things like that as well.
That's above Kane, right? So Kane scored 22 goals this season already.
He might want to stay at Hamburg because his brother's banned for, I don't know, smoking dope or some sort of dope charge But then again, it depends. I mean, if we're a shit show in the summer and we're going to lose Romero or VDV, he definitely comes back, right?
Adrian, I've changed my mind on this clearly, right? I was saying for since last year, once his Hamburg loan was announced, leave him there the season. And since he started well at Hamburg and he's starting the games and he's obviously smashing it, I said give him another year there, or give him
That
another
could
year
still
somewhere
happen. That
else
could still
directly.
happen.
But now,
No, I think we should just bring
like,
him back.
no one expected him to be as good as this in the Bundesliga, playing for a promoted team who obviously in a lot of games are playing with their backs against the wall. So he's constantly defending. Do you know what I mean? It's a very rare situation where he has the opportunity to showcase his bringing the ball out of defence, right, on the ball.
I mean,
which
he's
is
in the
good at
same
as
league.
well,
I know
right?
they're different. He's in the same league as Romero and VDV. And as I said to you, he's better than Kevin Dancer. And I like
Yeah.
Dancer. I want to keep Dancer, but he's better. He would be number 3.
How old was the Croatian player that plays for Man City? That I think is very.
Vardiol.
Yeah, how old was he when he started playing in the Premier League for Man?
20, probably 21, 20, 20
Yeah,
21, 22.
He was quite young. We were linked with him, weren't we, for a while?
We need to get Vuskovic back. If we don't get him, I think if we don't get him back now and integrate him straight away, whether he starts every game or not, that's another thing. But if he needs to start 50% of the games, he's good enough. And if we don't do that, we'll lose him.
Yeah.
Some shape or form.
And I think with Dancer, I think Dancer's like another Ben Davies for us. He's so happy to be at the club.
Yeah.
He's won a Europa League medal. He's a pro who won't complain. He'll just be there because he knows he's never going to move to a bigger club, right? And that's without whether we decide what we got to do with Ashley Phillips, who smashed it at Stoke, and Dorrington will probably be sold. And so that's why when we were in the centre backs this window, I thought this is all bullshit. Go on, carry on, Phil.
I just want to say one more thing about the strength of the squad, because of course we do moan about the squad, you know, that it's not strong enough, and that's the fact, that's the truth. But it's a shame again about this transfer window and the summer as well. But it's a shame about this transfer window, because if you look at what our squad is, once those players come back, we have a lot of options, and we've got a lot of young talent, which is not, you know, which is good enough to play.
Doing a predicted lineup will be a nightmare. You know what I mean? It'll be a nightmare.
We have a lot of options. Even then, if you look at, you know, Spence, Porro, Archie Gray as options on the right. Okay, on the left back and stuff, we're not as strong. Keeper, Vicario. You know, that's another discussion by itself, right? In terms of upgrading him, and then obviously up front, Solanke, maybe plus one other striker, right? And the left wing. But again, if we had just bought like this squad, probably with only 3 top quality additions, is good enough then at that point to challenge again realistically for Champions League every season.
Do you think the ball chickened out? Do you think they didn't want to bloat the squad with injured players coming back? But to me, my argument was bloat the squad, then worry about who you don't want in the summer and get rid of them.
Bloat the squad, the problem we have is apparently Wharton was up. Like, just as an example, right? Just, you know, Wharton for me would be the absolute game changer for us, right, in midfield, because or an Elliot Anderson, one of those two, right? Because they would completely change the way that we recycle the ball in midfield and that we play.
Believer at Brighton, another one.
Progressively, right? We could have got someone like Wharton now if we put the money down on the table. We could have done, despite I know Palace have sold, you know, X amount of other players, but we could have got him
in relegation as well.
We're not going to get him in the summer now. We could have got him in the summer if Thomas Frank had won 3 of those games in January and we were 9 points better off and we were actually challenging like where Man United almost are now. Yeah. Right? If we were doing that and we were going into Europe, we could sign Wharton. But whether we can buy those players now, I don't know. That's the problem we have. Unless if we really do sell, unless if the club gets taken over, we get Pochettino back and we pay money.
I know
they'd probably have to get Wharton before the World Cup, because if he has a good World Cup.
Well, this is it.
That as well. But
also
unlikely though. Unlikely.
With the World Cup, I mean, I know it's fatal to buy players sometimes during a World Cup. They have a good World Cup and then that's it, right? But there's going to be a lot of players available in the summer. We will get players in. Let's just hope they're. I mean, if they're at the Conor Gallagher level, which I believe is just below the elite level, I get that from where we are as a football club, but we don't want lower than that. Don't want to start going out and buying Joe Rodens and Kudus and G's and think people like that. I mean, they need, and not only that, we need to do. Well, we already get all the data analysis, and we send the scouts out and all that. But also part of the due diligence has got to be players' attitude. We don't want a lazy, don't give a shit, end on belly at this football club, do we? Don't want to have one of them. So we have to do the due diligence on that. Yeah, so I'll tell you what, guys, it's been a great show. I didn't expect to go so long, but because it was interesting and because we got nearly 500 of you listening to us, I didn't want to fold it. I'm just going to bring up one last banner because these guys have got work and Phil's an hour in front of us. So by the time the show closes, he'll be going to work, right? So yeah, up next, Man United away. I mean, we're going to go into this on Friday's show, but on that, just before Friday, on Thursday, I think we have to announce the Champions League squad on the 5th. I think it's the 5th.
Is it?
So yeah, if it is, so everybody, there'll be lots of
the playoffs first. The playoffs first. The draw for the final 16.
Google it. One of you Google it. Google it, right? Man United, 4 years haven't beaten us. I think we've gone 9 games undefeated against them in all competitions.
According to UEFA.com,
Friday the 27th.
Playoffs progress to the round of 16. The
draw, which takes place on Friday. The draw takes place on the 27th.
Yeah, but when do you have to register the squads? I thought it was the 5th. I've seen it somewhere, but then that source might be wrong. Yeah, as I was saying, Man United haven't, last 9 games we've played them, we haven't lost. That never happened under Fergie. We got beat every time we played them, right? And then, Phil, the end of this list, there's no easy games in the Premier League, let's be fair, but it looks like we could have a strong finish if things improve for us. We could have a strong finish. I mean, this isn't the whole season, couldn't fit them all in. But it takes us from, obviously, Newcastle at home, I think it's winnable. They don't travel well. Arsenal at home, I think most fans would take a point like they did against Man City if they could get it. But then we got Fulham away. Well, we could win. Palace at home, we can beat them. Liverpool away, all right. Don't get a lot. Forest at home, yeah, we can get something from that. Sunderland away, yeah, they're flying. They've only lost a couple at home, haven't they? 1 or something. Sure, it gets Brighton.
Brighton at home, you got to win. Wolves away, winnable for sure.
I mean, we're not getting relegated. I mean, for those of you still got fears about that, I just want to say to you that in the last 6 seasons, as I can go back, I think the most teams, the third place team that went down, most points they got was 35. We got 29 now, is it?
Yeah.
So that was so then you flip it the other way. So we'd need 2 wins out of 14 games because we got a good goal difference, right? So 2 wins out of 14 games. We're getting more than 2 wins out of these games, right?
We're not going to.
No,
we're not going to get relegated. Like if I'm being honest, I mentioned it.
I'm looking for Europa League still, me.
But we are getting better. Like we're playing a bit better, right? Recently, like with Solanke back and with Xavi kind of getting into form, blah blah blah, right? After that West Ham game where we lost at home, and I remember coming on the pod, after that game, that was probably one of the worst, kind of vibes I think that I've ever had. Like, literally at that point, right? But the reality is, since then, everyone was saying, "Oh, we're going to lose every game. We're going to lose to Dortmund. We're going to lose to Frankfurt. We're not going to qualify for the knockout. We're going to lose to Man City. Obviously, we're going to lose to United. We're going to lose to Newcastle." Right? To be honest, though, we are playing better than we were, and there is some green shoots in there. Like I think honestly, even the most negative fans, whether it's about Thomas Frank or the way we're playing, have got to acknowledge that there is some positives to our play, and Udogi's fit again and he's playing well, like Gray's looking good. Porro hopefully he's not going to be away for that long, like there's players hopefully coming back soon as well. Gallagher's come in now and he looked really good in the end against Man City. He's going to be like perfect for playing at Old Trafford on Saturday. Like we are going to pick up points and we're going to win games. as well. And that's also part of the reason why I just can't see Thomas Frank going before the end of the season.
No, I don't.
And I honestly don't think it makes sense to get rid of Thomas Frank before the end of the season, because
Not
the
now,
players
doesn't.
are still playing for him. They played for him in that second half, regardless. They were 2-0 down, staring down the barrel right on half time with like no positives. And whatever happened in that half time, or whatever they set up, whatever they said themselves in that second half, they came out and they wanted to do something, and they did. They're playing for the manager still. So you have to, I think you have to just stick with it at the moment. And but what he needs to do, and what the squad needs to do, is manage the squad even better over the next month. And maybe that does mean playing people like Byfield a bit, Janai a bit more often, maybe playing one or two of the other, youngsters in there, giving them some minutes, playing Tell more, and maybe even giving Kinski a game at some point, because Romero, Vicario, even Vicario could get injured, right? Like just through the sheer fact of playing every single game, including in the cups as well. If we can do that, if we can manage it properly, and get some of these players back and start picking up some more points, we won't come anywhere near relegation. And look, whether we qualify for Europe or not, I think right now that's very much a long shot. But the league is still tight. If we go on a mini run and we win 2 games and get a draw in 3 games, or win those 3 games, like what Carrick's done, then suddenly we're up to like 10th or 9th or something. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not out of, I don't think there's grounds, like there's a lot of negativity out there, and it's understandable why, right? Especially after the transfer window now as well. But there are some positives in our squad, and also with Thomas Frank, honestly.
I think with the register in the squad, I think it's because the window's closed, and we're only allowed, we have to register because we're allowed to change 3 players. It's 3 players we're allowed to change in that squad.
I think my internet's crashing. Hold on a minute.
Okay. I definitely saw it in media outlets that had to be done by the 5th. But if you know in the chat, let us know when we got to register our squad for the Champions League. We will be down to 22 players again, because although we got rid of Brendan Johnson, who was homegrown, we brought in Conor Gallagher. But we're the same as every other team in the league. It's nothing to get too upset about, because although it's 22 players, we got the under 20.
You're right.
Right, I'm right, am I?
Yeah, it's the 5th. Midnight on the 5th. So midnight. Well, midnight tomorrow, yeah.
Because I would have thought they'd have needed to know who was going to make up the last 16. Because at the moment we've got those playoffs to happen.
Well, it happens after a transfer window. Well, no, the playoffs will go ahead. The teams in the playoffs, they've still got the same rule. I mean, they can, like, they've got their squads. They can still change 3.
Right. Oh, okay. So they got to
change 3 players. Okay. I mean, we had the issue with Solanke and Tell, and now that Solanke's fit, this could have been another thing to do with our transfer window. It just sort of occurred to me: did we not want to bring a foreign player in because of who we want to add to the squad? Do they now want to put Tell in, because Odebert took Tell's spot last season, half of the season? He came in because they left Tell out. Now I think Tell's deserved his place in this, because, like you said, you get more room and a bit more time in a European football. So I think Tell's earned his place. Well, these are the fixtures, Brad. I don't think they look that daunting. All right, you might say the Arsenal game.
Well, the Man United away game would be interesting, because Man United have won all their 4 games under Carrick, so they're due to drop some points. So
exactly that.
Given our away form, we might be able to get a draw up there. Newcastle, I agree with you. Newcastle, I think we can win that one. Arsenal, again, they've got to raise themselves from the kickoff. None of the Chelsea, West Ham, well, actually, Chelsea definitely. Fulham away, I've applied for tickets for that. Palace at home. We never do well at Anfield. I mean, there's enough games there to win to stave off any.
There's enough points there. There's enough points there. I mean,
our home form can't be as bad in the second half of the season, surely.
And I was thinking, I was going to bring up earlier, I forgot to mention it, that the fact that I forgot what was. I lost my thread now. So that happens when you got so many things flashing through your mind like that. Well, guys, I think that about wraps up. It's been a very good show. We've kept it interesting. I wouldn't carry on if the conversation was dying. So that's thanks to you guys as well, and Gary. And like I said, I'll bring the banners up again for you all, especially for those. I want to big up to the 500 of you watching us on various platforms. All of us would be grateful if you could get over to YouTube and subscribe to our channels and give the videos a thumbs up. You've got Gary you can find at Project Spurs. You can find me and Phil over there guesting on there. Maybe Brad will be guesting on in the future, who knows. You can subscribe to Phil here at Frankfurt Spurs, brave enough to stay up late in Germany, an hour in front, I think, for this.
Yes.
And you can find Brad at Blue Sofa Songs, right?
Yeah.
I want to thank everyone. It's been a very good show, and I want to especially thank you that supported us on these various platforms. Our shows do go out usually every Tuesday at 9 o'clock, Friday at 10 o'clock, because we try to cater for the East Coast American and Canadians. And then EMF hosts Sundays usually at 8 o'clock, unless there's a reason for a game where a time has to be pushed back. If there's a game on a Sunday or Saturday, you can find us Tuesdays, Fridays, and Sundays anyway. And the occasional Wednesday, it all depends how the European games fall as well, right? So with that, I want to thank you all. I mean, it's been a really good show. And come on, you Spurs.
Come on, Spurs. Come
on,
on,
Spurs.
I'll play you out with this song I wrote.
We are tough until we die. We are tough until we die. Spurs die heart and soul. We are tough until we die. We are tough until we die. Spurs die heart and soul. We are tough until we die. We are tough until we die. Spurs die heart and soul. Lily white and navy blue. Until we die, we are taught until we die. Spurs die heart and soul. Lily white and navy blue. Taught until we die, we are taught until we die. Spurs die heart and soul. We are taught until we die, we are taught until we die. Spurs die heart and soul. We are taught until we die, we are taught until we die. Spurs die heart and soul. Lily white and navy blue. We are tough until we die. We are tough until we die. Spurs die heart and soul. Lily white and navy blue. We are tough until we die. We are tough until we die. Spurs die heart and soul. Lily white and navy blue.